Hi everyone, Phil from Tech for Techs. Today we're going to be looking at this Arctic Freezer i35 A-RGB. This is for an Intel processor, so it's a cooler, what cools Intel processors down, including the new 1700 socket. That's the 12th gen Intel processors. They also do a A35 model, and you've guessed it, the A stands for AMD. So we're going to have a look at this and see how it performs. And if you're interested in purchasing this one or the AMD version, make sure you click the links in the description just below, and we've also got the latest prices down there when you click the links. Are you looking for a great networking solution? Well, Tender has it all. Finding your BT router no longer has the power? Then try one of these from Tender.
Hell yeah!
Is the Wi-Fi on your laptop not working and you need a discreet solution? Well, then get this from Tender.
Hell yeah!
Finding the kids can't get Wi-Fi in the bedroom and they're making your life miserable? Well, you need to get one of these from Tender.
Oh, hell yeah!
Looking for a low-cost solution to get internet into your home office? Then you need to get some of these from Tender.
Hell yeah!
For all your networking needs, trust Tender.
Hell yeah!
Okay, let's have a quick look at the box. So we've got a nice attractive packaging from Arctic. They followed suit from their liquid freezer 2s. What they've done with this nice black and multicoloured packaging. Looks really nice, better than the old plain blue packaging they used to have. So I really do like this. Obviously it says it's Arctic on there. It says it's A-RGB, which is addressable RGB, and some people call it digital RGB. It's also got limited 6-year warranty as well, so that's nice. As I said, this is the i35, that's for the Intel, but they also do a A35, which is for AMD coolers. It comes with MX5, which is their thermal paste, which we've tested in the past, found it performed extremely well, and it tells you it works with all the RGB software and everything down the bottom. Just a few of the specifications. So the i35, which is this one, will work on any Intel 1700, 1200 or 1150X board. The AMD version will work on any AM4 board, so that should give you a rough idea. The weight on this is 734 grams. The fan is 120 millimeters, and it's 200 to 1700 RPM. So it gives you a rough idea. The speed regulation on there is PWM, which means it adjusts itself with a motherboard, which is a 4-pin connector. The bearing on the fan is a fluid dynamic bearing, and as we said, 6-year warranty, and then you've got 12 A-RGB LEDs on there, which is pretty good, which is a 3-pin 5-volt connector, which is, I call them 4-1 because it looks like there's 2 pins, there's one missing and then there's another one, but it's it's classed as a 5-volt A-RGB connector, and it's classed as 3 pins. On the back of the box, you can see there it's got a manual online, so I'm hoping that means there's no paperwork inside, so good on Arctic. Save the environment and everything like that. They do say they're carbon friendly or neutral or something like that on there. I can't remember exactly the wording they're using, but they do seem to care about the environment. You've got more specifications there. Tells you a bit more information there about it being a tower CPU cooler in different languages, and on this side it's just support and feedback, so pretty straightforward. Okay, so here we've got the actual cooler itself. First thing you can probably see is you've got the actual fan there. It's 5 blades in total, but they are quite large sweeping blades. They're partially see-through. That's to help the RGB lighting obviously make it glow up and light up and everything. You do have an RGB cable here, which is roughly 45 to 50 centimeters long, depending on which connection you're looking at. One is basically a pass-through cable or a daisy chaining cable, so you can basically plug another device into it, and then the other part goes into your motherboard. And the other cable on the other side is your PWM, that's for your fan speeds and obviously powering it. That cable there is roughly 20 centimeters long. The fan itself is in a plastic shroud and casing, so unfortunately that means if you want to replace the fan, you haven't got much choice. Again, it does come with a 6 year warranty, so in theory, if you have any issues, they should replace it. But if you did want to replace it with aftermarket, or let's just say someone came out with a brand new type of fan, what you wanted for whatever reason, you will not be able to attach it to this device, or not with ease. You'd probably be able to get some clips possibly, but it's not as standard. So otherwise, you've got the tower cooler here, so you can actually see all the fins on there. It is painted black. It does look like there's 1 or 2 little chip marks on there where the paint's come off on the corners, but saying that, it's nothing too big and you're not going to notice it in your case. But it is quite nice and it's quite heavy, so I think it's around about 750 grams in total, so it's quite a beast, to be honest with you, especially for a single fan cooler. So you can take this fan section off if you wanted. There's like little clips on the side. You have to sort of pull these and pull it out, and it sort of slides forward. There we go. It can be a little bit fiddly though. You will need to do that actually when you're fitting it, because you will need to access the screw here to screw it into the brackets on your motherboard after you've fitted them. You can see the heat pipes here. You can see 8 ends, which are all painted black anyway, but they're hidden under the shroud. But obviously, because of the 8 ends, there's only 4, so you can see them there. They loop around. You've got your plate on the bottom, which is protected. Thermal paste is not pre-applied, so you have to do it yourself. There seems to be a slight mark on that heat pipe there. It just looks like a bit of dirt actually, it'll rub off. But you can see the actual heat pipes there running through the actual base. And again, everything's black apart from the base, obviously, which is obviously, I'm guessing that's aluminium. And then you've got the copper heat pipes going through there. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. There's not much to see other than that. But the main bit, obviously, is the fan. Yeah, it looks nice. It probably helps improve the airflow, as well as obviously increases the colours and makes it look slightly better. But if you did want to replace the fan for whatever reason, you can't find your warranty information or your receipt, so you need to replace the fan, it's going to be a bit difficult. There are some clips there, or should I say a groove there where this clips on, but I'm not sure if any mounting clips will actually fit on there, because they're usually a little bit further back, and it doesn't have the ability to add another one on the other side, which you can on some coolers. So the first thing we do, we get the back plate, and then we'll put these back plate screws in. There's 2 fittings in there. It's hard to see on the camera, but you'll see more so in the manual if you have a look at the manual, which is on their app, or scanning the QR code, should I say. But basically, if you're wanting to connect it to a socket 1200 board, which is generally like 11th, 10th gen Intel processors, you need to have the screw sort of pushed to closer to the center. If it's on the 1700 series, it pushes more to the edge. So that's pretty much it. You have to make sure the sort of domed effect, which is there, hard to do it right, all the screws falling out, is actually pointing the side of your motherboard, so it gives you a rough idea. There's also up and down arrows on here which tells you which base goes to the top and bottom, so you'd have it that way up on the motherboard, obviously from the reverse side. Now, to get these screws to stay in place and stop them wobbling about as you're trying to obviously fit it and them falling out, they do supply some little O-rings, rubberized ones. You have to slide those down the screw all the way as far down as it'll go, so it should hold it in place. There you go. Now, once you've got these little O-rings on, that one went on 100%. There we go. They should all the way to the bottom, as I said. That one slipped as well. There we go. So they're all in. You then need to position this on the back of your motherboard. So you need to make sure the arrows, which you can see top bottom there, they need to basically push towards the top and bottom of your motherboard, and then it should just push on. And once it's pushed on, you turn your motherboard the other way up. Now we have to install the spacers. You've got some black rubber ones and some sort of white or clearish plastic ones. Now the clearish plastic ones, they are for socket 1200 and 1150 or 51, so forth. The black ones are specifically for socket 1700, so the new 12th gen CPU sockets. So the black ones just basically slide over the pins, which are or screws should we say, which are pointing upwards through your motherboard from the back plate. I've already done the other three already just so you can see what it looks like. Once you've done that, you then need to get this bracket here. There's different holes on there. Obviously check the manual which holes fit your board, but generally it's going to be the one what fits. If it don't fit, then you've got the wrong one. Basically is the basics to that. So you get one on there. You make sure the lipped area, so the bit what sort of making a trough is probably the best way, is pointing upwards with this big screw connection which is pointing upwards there. So, and then they point inwards, so U-shaped, into the motherboard itself, so, or into the CPU itself should I say, and like that. Once you've done that, you get these 4 little black screws here, or toppers, and those will screw into those 4 corners just to hold those brackets in place. So now you've got these brackets screwed in, basically you need to apply your thermal paste to the CPU. So basically you just get the tube and squeeze the end and it pumps it out. There's just enough in there to cover the CPU, which is good, so you don't need to use any extra. So that's good. Now, because we like to be consistent with all our testing, we do spread our thermal paste out. This is not necessarily needed. Some people will say, oh, you don't need to do that. Some people will say, oh yeah, you do, and so forth. But we like it to be nice and consistent across the CPU, so we know it's the same on all our tests and so forth. It takes a few minutes to get it all spread out, as you can see, and because of the way the paste is, it's not going to look the nicest, to be honest with you. It looks like someone's made a really bad sandwich and put loads of mayonnaise over the top of it, but there we go. So we just want a constant basically surface, so we know when we compare this against another one that there wasn't an issue because we put the thermal paste on wrong or whatever, or too much. We like to keep it very constant, so everything we do, we want to make sure there's no here's and there's and anything's got an advantage because there's more paste or it's spread differently or anything like that. In theory, it shouldn't make a difference. We've done tests in the past. There are minor differences, but negligible. Okay, now we need to mount the cooler, so you've got to figure out which way you want to have it blowing and so forth. Obviously, in 99% of the cases, and most cases we'll see, we want this basically blowing air to the back side of the case so it gets exhaust through the back fan. Obviously some people have the cases set up in wonderful and weird ways which can obviously alter things, but if you're wanting to do it the way what most people do, so you have a fan on this bit here and then it blows the air out of the back of the case here, then you'll want the flat side facing where your RAM is, or the right hand side of the board, and you just place it down on top and you'll see there's screws there, there's one there, one the other side, will line up with this little hub on the bracket on both sides, and then all you do is get your screwdriver and basically screw it in. To make it easy, we suggest you just screw a little bit on both sides first so it just grips. So, because you can find if you're over tight on one side, it can cause the other side difficulties of it gripping in, and as you can see it's not gripping at the moment, so let's try that again. There you go, and that's starting to grip this side. We'll screw it on the other side as well, do the same thing there, and then we'll fit the fan back on. Now we've got the actual cooler on the board, or shall we say the heatsink part of it, we need to attach the fan, which includes its own shroud. So just make sure the cables are out of the way so you don't get them trapped. But the basics is it should just drop down and then push back and clip in. Fingers crossed, he says. Maybe I've not got it 100% straight. Let's try that again. There we go, that's on now. So once you've got it connected, you then need to connect up your RGB and fan headers. The fan header cable is quite short, which is a good thing and a bad thing. So if you've got a fan header on your board in a weird place, it might be a little bit of a pain to connect it up. Luckily for us, it's going to fit no problem, and we just need to connect it up to one of these headers up here. So for example, if you're not sure which one you need to connect it to, check your motherboard. It will say fan header or CPU header or something along that lines. It's usually CPU header, and then that's the one you want to connect it up to. But different boards, different manufacturers call it slightly different things. Next we've got our RGB cable, which is actually quite long, so it could go into a controller or something like that. But you need to connect it up to basically a connection what looks like that. It's hard to see, but it's basically 2 pins, miss one and then one. It's classed as a 3-pin connection. This is the one here, and you can see probably on there that one is blanked out, so that basically just pushes over the top, and hey presto, your cooler is now set up. So you just need to power your machine on and away you go. Okay, so I've just plugged this machine in, I've put the power cable in and everything like that, and we're going to start it off now. So this is the first time it's turned on, so you'll get to see what it looks like just like I do. So first impressions and everything. So press the button, and wait, hey, everything seems to be spinning and working. This is going to be our new test bench, or one of our new test bench should I say, for obviously 1200 socket, 1700 socket boards. So as you can see, this is seems to be up and running and doing what it should be doing. We've got to install Windows, set it up and so forth, and then we'll go and do some in-depth testing. One of the things to note straight away, which I've noticed, is RAM clearance. There is plenty of it. I was slightly worried when I saw this cooler to begin with, because I thought, oh, it's like a single fan version of the Freezer 50, which in all honesty was a big, huge thing, and it caused lots of issue with RAM clearance. This, you haven't got any issue because it doesn't cover the RAM. Only thing it may cover slightly is potentially if you've got like an M.2 socket down here, and you need to access it, so it may be a good idea to fit the M.2 first if needs be. We've got several test systems set up for doing testing. Depending on the test, depends on the system we use. The specifications will be on top of the slides and in the description below. We set all fan speeds either 50% or 100% and do not use the auto mode. This is so we get a consistent testing throughout the whole range, where automatic usually causes the fan to speed up and slow down and can give some false results. The test systems we use are offline, which basically means they're not connected to the internet, so they won't be doing anything like updates or anything else in the background. We also disable most applications from running, and all the machines we run on are using the same version of Windows, the same version of programs, so there is no inconsistencies between the machines. Okay, so we did the idle CPU test first. That's where we set the fan at 50% speed and leave the machine just to sit there to do nothing. The room temperature was 21 degrees Celsius and the temperature we got on the CPU was 22 degrees. Again, this is the first time we've tested 12th gen Intel processors, so it's the only thing we have got on the charts. One thing we did notice using the 12th gen processor is when it is idle, it uses practically no power. It was basically running idle at around about 6 watts. Yes, just 6 watts, which is very, very low. Obviously, it's another story when you push it to 100%. We did try it with an i9-12900K and it failed all the tests apart from the idle test, so we are using an i7 12700K because it's a little bit more power efficient. But saying that, as you can see here on a 100% load test with the fan running at 100% speed, we got 84 degrees Celsius. While it didn't thermal throttle and it didn't fail the actual test, it wasn't far off, so it just about managed to keep it cool. Bear in mind, these tests, we are running them for 30 minutes, so that means the CPU processor was running flat out for 30 minutes using Cinebench 23.2. We did also test it on a 10th gen i7 10700K processor as well, and we also find the temperature on there was actually quite respectable at around about 62 degrees. But again, we only just did a quick test on that just to see how it is. Going forward, we will be using the 12th gen processors for our testing, obviously because that gives us a bigger range, newer technology and so forth, and we need to see if these coolers can actually cool them down. So would this cooler be ideal for an i7? Probably not if you're going to be whacking it full load. For average use, average gaming, it'd probably be absolutely fine, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't recommend it over anything like an i5. So an i5 would probably be the best, unless it's an older generation like a 10th or 11th generation Intel processor, then you'll be absolutely fine all the way up to an i7. Thank you for watching this video, everyone. It's really appreciated you made it all the way to the end. Please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and even click that bell so you get notifications of new videos and live streams. It does help support the channel, and supporting the channel basically means that we can release more content for you and also better quality content going forward. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.